Good afternoon. Hope everybody had a great weekend. It was interesting when I had your job. I took 5 years to look at a different perspective, and it's funny the life of a modern day football coach. I had a friend that's a dear friend that texted me right after the game and said, "Bad loss." And I texted him back when I got dressed and looked at my phone, because you're out of touch with everybody for about 5 hours, so you worry about your family, and anybody get sick or somebody would surely come tell you. But so I text him, "Thank you for the analogy. I appreciate your help. I didn't realize it was a bad loss." So now I've got it. So he called this morning. He said, "I am so sorry. I got so frustrated at the end of the game because we were down and I got mad. Then we came back and I got excited. And then right at the end we lost and I was mad again. So I just wanted you to know I was mad." And I said, "I realize everybody's mad. I'm mad. But I was frustrated." I said, "I realize everybody's frustrated. I'm frustrated." So I said, "Either don't ever text me again after a game, or take my name out of your phone until the season's over. And then I'll start talking to you again. But I don't need your help right after a game." And that's kind of what happens. Coach Royal, the 3 national championship legendary coach at Texas, told me one time that what you've got to understand about your job is you're responsible for how every North Carolina football fan feels every Saturday, and when that game starts, you have very little control. So you have responsibility without control. So that's what you have in your life. So as we get started offensively, 41 points should be enough to win a game, and we left some points on the board. We had the 1 turnover that led to points for them. We had the 3 missed opportunities, with the one right before half that we had a defensive player use our last timeout, which we never want to do. I talked about that last week. I'm supposed to be the only one calling timeouts, so we got to get that straight. And then we had a holding call that called a touchdown by Samback, and we had a missed field goal, and that's not even counting the inadvertent whistle. So other than that, the offense had a great night. It was a night where Virginia stacked the box and blitzed, and we had some guys wide open, and Sam did a tremendous job of throwing the ball, and he and Diami had a record-breaking night. So they did a tremendous job offensively of getting us where we needed to be. 6 out of 10 on 3rd downs, 1 out of 1 on 4th downs, 3 out of 5 touchdowns in the red zone. You'd rather have 5, obviously, so we left 2 there on the board. And the 1 turnover that we did get offensively from the defense turned into points. Defensively, we couldn't stop the run. It was a repeat of Florida State. I thought they blocked us better than we blocked them, and that's a credit to Virginia. It was a very, very physical game. But they rushed for 210 yards, and then that leaves the play-action pass open. And we've got to do a better job stopping the run. We did do a good job of stopping the drive the last 5 minutes before the half, and then we fumbled the punt. And then we went back out and didn't do a good job in sudden change. So we're at least making some progress in that area. But we haven't done a good job with sudden change all year, meaning when we turn the ball over offensively, we've got to go out there and put it out, or at least hold them to a field goal defensively, and we haven't done that. We've been giving up touchdowns. We did have some stops the second half. We had 2 penalties that we just can't afford to have. One of them was an unsportsmanlike penalty that's uncalled for completely. The other one, Don Chapman, they called a late hit, and it's hard to hear those whistles. I mean, I didn't hear it, he didn't hear it. And that's tough. We're hearing that from quite a few people across the country, that you tell them to go full speed, you're telling them to be physical, and sometimes those whistles aren't very loud. I was yelling at the official on the sideline once to call a timeout, and he didn't hear me. And I was screaming, but I had my mask on. So things are a little different out there right now with COVID, and it's something that we'll just have to continue to deal with till this stuff goes away. It was a great stop at the end of the game. We decided not to onside kick because we felt like let's put the ball back in the hands of our defense. We had a poor kickoff. We wanted to kick it deep and over his head and hopefully get them pinned way back, and because we knew we had to have a field goal to tie the thing, and a score wins it. We had 3 timeouts in our pocket, so we felt like that was the thing to do. It worked. We stopped them on 3 downs. They were only 3 for 11 on 3rd downs. They were 4 for 4 on 4th downs, which were short plays, and we've got to do a better job in that area. 4 for 5 in touchdowns in the red zone, but the defense put ourselves in a position to win the game at the end of the game. Special teams, we didn't punt. We didn't get anything out of our punt returns. Our kickoffs weren't as good, but our coverage was outstanding when we didn't kick the ball out of the back of the end zone. We made 2 of 3 field goals, and he made a 51-yarder. The one he missed was 52. So we're putting a lot of pressure on Grayson Atkins. Michael Carter made an unbelievable play when the ball was staying in bounds on the kickoff return, and he put his body out of bounds and reached inbounds to get the ball, which means that the ball is out of bounds. And that was a great play during the ball game that a lot of people haven't talked about. On the fake punt, we had punt safe in. We had worked on their fakes all week because they faked punt last year. We were screaming fake. We had tackle eligible. We had that covered. We were ready. 99 takes the ball. He sprints to the right. We're all over it. We're going to have it stopped. There's a young guy on the backside that is so excited about trying to help with the play, he loses his contain. And give their player credit. He cuts all the way back and turns up and makes it by a small margin. But good play by them to make the first down. If we get the ball at midfield with a timeout, the way we're moving the ball, I feel really, really good about our chances to win the game. And I think Bronco probably went for it because he knew they weren't going to stop us if they punted it. So looking at what we've done since we've been here, we're 6-3 at home. We're 3-5 on the road, so we got to play much better on the road. We've talked about that. We got another one coming up this weekend. We're 2-0 at neutral sites. 8 of the losses have been, or the 8 losses have been 7 points or less, and 5 of those 8 have been 5 points or less. So, and for some reason, when we lose, we dig ourselves in a hole in the second quarter, and then have to fight back out of it the third and fourth quarter. So we've got to quit doing that. We just seem to, when it starts rolling sometimes in the second quarter, we just shoot ourselves in the foot. 7 to 10 plays make the difference in close ball games, and we played hard, we played good, but those 7 or 10 mistakes from a guy who says, my bad, coach, but only had 1, well, 10 of them get you beat. And that's what we've got to do. We've got to start making fewer mistakes by player. And next year, we're going to have 51 freshmen with the rule change out of our 85. So we've got a young team, but they've just got to quit making mistakes during the game, and that's coaching. That's something we have to do. We've had a tough 5-week stretch here at Boston College, a physical game. Virginia Tech was a physical game. At Florida State was a physical game. NC State was a physical game, and Virginia was a physical game. So we're beaten up. It's the first time we've ever played 4 rival games in a row, so we've really got to pull it together and get back ready to go this week, as well as against Duke, as well as against Wake Forest next week. But proud of these players. They are trying. They get down and they compete so hard to come back, and that tells me that they're believing and they're getting better. Some might say that same old, same old. It's not. It's not. Virginia played really well. And we still had a chance to win in the end because they fought back to do that. And the other thing is our recruiting's going really, really well. We need some more depth, and we're just going to keep adding good players to this football team moving forward. As far as Duke is concerned, well, first let me say Election Day. It's the decision by the NCAA not to practice tomorrow put a lot of pressure on kids across the country because they have a hard game Saturday night. They get back at 3, 4 in the morning. And then you got to come over here and evaluate the video on Sunday, and then we had a hard physical practice this morning, and that's normally on Tuesday. So it's I just admire them so much across the country that they're stepping up to do that. And we told them that we did want them to vote. If you don't vote, you can't gripe about the outcome. Obviously, we would never tell them who to vote for. That's up to them completely. As far as Duke, everybody knows David Cutcliffe's a great coach, and they can run the ball well, and we haven't stopped the run. They can block punts, and we've had block punts. They've got two really good pass rushers, and we've had trouble protecting the passer. So we got our hands full this weekend. Questions?
Thanks, Coach. If you guys have a question, please use the raised hand function. Our first question today will come from JB Ricks.
Hey, Coach. Good to see you again. Thanks for taking out the time.
Good to see you, JB.
Yes, sir. I asked Coach Bateman about the level of preparation for his defense going into that Virginia game, and he mentioned that Virginia just blocked very well, and I just heard you mention how tough these games have been, and obviously playing against conference opponents, week in and week out is going to, wear and tear on on the team's body. But what happens in the next game for you guys when you go up against a team that blocks better than you again? How do you counter that, especially on the defensive side of the ball, so you guys don't put the offense in the positions that they end up having to be in, having to come back from 21, 28 points down each game?
Yeah, JB, it's when I was with ESPN for 5 years, it was interesting that a lot of questions coaches would answer, and my friends in the media would say, that's coach speak. That's just coach speak. They never tell us anything. They just won't tell us the truth. The truth is you got to get lower pads, you've got to do a better job with gap control, and you got to have better run fits from your secondary. And you've just got to keep doing it till you get better and better and better. And that doesn't sound like it sounds like coach speak, but it's what you have to do because they played hard. They tried hard. And when theirs blocks yours, I mean, give them credit and work on yours to get better. But I think, again, I watched the game going home and watched it about 5 times, and you look at it, and sometimes we got a guy that sticks his nose in the wrong gap, we got a guy that fields in the wrong place. Those are things we can correct. But I think you got to give Virginia credit for blocking us better than we block them.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Okay, next question from Andrew Jones.
Hey, Coach, you guys have had some big mistakes in special teams, different parts of special teams. What is the element of special teams that must be corrected most, and how do you go about doing that?
I'm sorry, Andrew, what is the thing that
Yeah, the different parts of special teams have had some costly mistakes in the last few weeks. What part must be addressed first, must be fixed first, and then you kind of cascade from there?
Yeah, I think the punt team is the quickest way to get you beat. Whether they block a punt, most time if you get a punt blocked, you lose the game, or punt return. So that is such a critical part of it. They actually did a good job the other night, other than the contain on the last play, which was one of those 10 plays that cost us the game, obviously. And I do think special teams across the country have been more sporadic this year without spring practice. It's tougher on Javon DeWitt, who came in and didn't have a spring practice and had to learn the kids after he get here. And then we've had so many injuries. He's just having to run guys in and out and trying to teach everybody to do it. But the other way that we do special teams, everybody wants to jump on the special teams coach when something goes wrong. All the coaches work on special teams primarily. So on punt, he would have 3 different coaches on the staff working with him on punt. So when we have a mistake on special teams, it is all of us on the staff that are coaching it that made the mistakes. It's not just a guy. Just like coordinators, if the receiver doesn't block on a screen, is that Longo's fault? It's my fault. It's Longo's fault. It's Lonnie's fault. Yeah, it's everybody's fault. And that's the way special teams are too.
You brought up sudden change defense after the game the other night, and I asked Jay about it a little while ago. Have you found that through your time as a head coach that your older, more experienced defenses just handle sudden change a little bit better, and maybe that might be one of the issues right now because there are a lot of young guys on that side of the ball?
I do, Andrew. It's they handle tackling better. They handle sudden change better. They handle critical plays better. They don't have as many penalties. They play a lot of ball. And I was thinking about our secondary last night. We had three guys. We had the strongest secondary I had ever been around because it was really, really deep. And then we have 3 opt-out. We have 1 transfer. We have another one have academic issues and 2 starting corners out. So you're down 7 guys, and that's a lot of your run fits. So you've got guys who haven't been out there very much trying to cover people and play action, and it's a difficult thing. So the good thing is we'll continue to get better every week in the secondary, and the other thing is with all the guys out, it's forcing you to play a lot of younger guys critical snaps now that should help us as we continue to go through the season, but definitely next year. We will be a much more experienced defense next year because we'll lose very few people.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Our next question comes from C.L. Brown.
Hi, Mack. Also, piggybacking on the sudden change defense, what can you do as a coach to kind of facilitate a better response? I mean, is it just a matter of execution, or is there a change in philosophy with, play calling wise defensively, something that could just help facilitate more stops and maybe limiting to field goals when a turnover is deep in the territory or whatever, as opposed to giving up touchdowns?
Yeah, I don't think it's play calls. I mean, you are who you are defensively, and Jay's done a tremendous job everywhere he's been. So I'm not concerned about that, but it is a mindset. And that mindset, sometimes we stage it in practice. Sudden change, put the fire out, just to get them understanding that, number one, we shouldn't have dropped the punt. Number two, we shouldn't have fumbled the ball at the 20 and the 30-yard line that gave them short fields. Number two, if you're going to win the game, you need to force field goals or force them to turn it back over. You can't let them score 4 of the 5 trips in the red zone anyway, but you sure can't let them take those opportunities. So we left probably 17 points on the board offensively, and then offensively and with special teams, we gave them 14. And we've got to step up and stop those 14 points from happening with our defense if we mess up and turn it over like we did. And that's the way you win ball games. So when people say, why aren't we winning close games? That's it. Those are 2 situations in those 10 play segments that somebody's got to step up and stop. And usually that's a very confident defense that when they walk out there, they know they're not going to score. And right now they've scored on us enough that I don't think we have great confidence in that area. And that's something we've got to improve.
And also one more revisiting Virginia question. That last fake punt on 4th down, how much consideration did you give to just leaving your defense on the field? Or is it because they could punt and pin you that's taken off the board totally?
Yeah, we thought we did exactly what we should have done. We were prepared for it. I love the preparation. I love that our kids knew it was going to be a fake. I love the fact they called it out. We have to do a better job teaching a freshman to contain the backside.
All right, thanks,
yeah,
Coach.
and if they had punted it with nobody back there and they down it at the 1, then it puts you in a difficult spot too. But we also felt like they might even pooch it if they had come out, and then that would have been a very difficult situation too. So you had to look at the regular punt with a fake, and with the tackle eligible, you had to be ready for the pass off of it. Then you had to be ready for the run off of it. Then you had to be ready for them to punt it. Or if they had left their offense out there, are they going to go for it? Or are they going to try to pooch out of it? So there are about 5 different scenarios there that we were looking at. But all of us talked about it yesterday. If we had to do over, we'd do exactly the same thing. Because if we contain the backside, we hit them for a loss. We go down and possibly win the game, and then we're not having the same questions today. We're having all the questions about the great comeback.
All right, next question comes from Taylor Vippolis.
Hey, Mac. When it comes to expectations, it's easy to forget that this is just year 2 for you back in Carolina, but the offense is 5th in the NCAA. with yards per game and 15.
I can't hear you, Taylor. I'm sorry, I've lost you. Taylor, I didn't tune you out. So.
All right, Taylor, we'll try to get you back here in a minute. Greg Barnes, go ahead, Greg.
Hey, Mack. With regard to special teams, talking about the lack of spring practice for Javon to be able to work more with the guys, and then the fact that you're having to rely on so many freshmen. It sounds like you're kind of in a tough spot in terms of getting that unit or those units to operate as effectively as you would like. Is it really just a matter of you're dealing with the hand that you've got now, or is there a hope for there to be dramatic improvement in some of those areas last 5 games of the year?
Greg, I think it's both. I love what Javon and our coaches are doing in practice. They're so prepared. Their drills are right on target. I see a lot of really good things in special teams. We all talk about the one bad thing every week. We don't talk about all the good things that are happening. Just like with our secondary, the more these young guys play, the better they're going to get. And then we'll probably get some of these guys that have been out back, and that's going to help us as well. So I think Taylor was asking about expectations. There's no doubt that our expectations got ahead of our team. We're a good team. We're not a great team. And when you're 5th in the country and undefeated, everybody thinks you're a great team. So, and I like that. I think it's really good for the North Carolina program that we expect to win every game now, and we're disappointed when we don't. That hasn't been the case for a while. So that is a good thing. And at some point, we're going to grow up to these expectations. But right now, because of where we are with special teams, making that one mistake that was critical, where we are with defense, how do you stop the run against NC State, who beat Virginia, and then you can't stop the run at Virginia? It's crazy right now. And I think what we're seeing is we're seeing 4 or 5 teams that are better than everybody else. And then we're seeing about 25 that are all about alike, and you got to play good every week to win. And right now we're in that group. Hopefully we'll grow out of that group. But we're in the group that got better press and better expectations than we were a team, and now we're fighting to get back there. I had another really good friend call me on Sunday and said, "I'm just surprised." And I said, "Well, you shouldn't be. I mean, Virginia played great against Miami, so watch, listen. I said last week it was going to be a really, really tough game." And people think coaches just say that to get them off their back. We don't. I'm going to tell the truth and say facts when I come in here. But I expected it to be a really, really difficult game. I thought we'd win, and I was disappointed when we didn't. But I think, Greg, those are things that we've got to do. Is we've got to grow up on defense. Right now our offense is ahead of our other 2 phases of our team. We've got to continue to do a good job in special teams. Ben's a great punter, so that helps us. And then I really think that we've put tremendous pressure on Grayson Atkins because he's kicking 50-something yard field goals. But if he can make them, then points are hard to get right now. So you're going to have to score a lot of points to win games. So points are critical, so we're going to take every opportunity we can to try to get points.
And I did want to ask you about Sam. I mean, stats were impressive as they were, but how has he really progressed from last season to this season? What is he doing so well right now?
I feel like Sam is reading defenses much better. He studies so hard, and last year he was a rookie that was trying to learn, and now he knows. He knows exactly what's going to happen in the ball game. He can tell you on Friday night, "Coach, here's what they're going to do, and here's when they're going to do it." And he expects to execute everything. One of the problems he's got, like all of us right now, we're trying so hard to win that sometimes he'll hold the ball too long trying to make a play. Sometimes he'll fight for that extra yard when he'd just step out of bounds and let's punt, because he doesn't want to punt. So what we've got to do as a team is understand, do your job. and don't try to do more than that. When you try to do more than you can do, or just what you do as a team, that's when you make mistakes. Just like the holding penalty on the quarterback zone read for a touchdown. That was a walk-in. We didn't need to hold, and all we did is didn't let go, and there you are, and it cost us 7 points, and we get beat by 3 at the end of the game. So we just can't do those things. We got to be smarter we got to play smarter. We can't play any harder. Sometimes we can play tougher, but you're not going to knock everybody down you play like we have in some games. But I do think that as a group, we all need to take a deep breath, enjoy playing again, and enjoy what we've got right now. This is a special team, and we only have 6 weeks left guaranteed with this team. So I told them, take the pressure off of yourself, and everybody needs to take a deep breath and enjoy us getting better.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
Our next question comes from Jared Fialko.
Mack, you kind of alluded to it earlier in the sense that your week is somewhat different given the NCAA mandate to give players tomorrow off. Just curious if in your 30-plus years of head coaching, if you've ever been around locker rooms that have had more social/political talk than what you're probably experiencing in this day and age right now.
Jared, I haven't. It's a good question. All the time. In fact, we brought one of our mental health counselors in yesterday, and it wasn't about Virginia. It was about the COVID, taking care of themselves and making sure they speak up if they feel any issues at all with all the negative things that are happening right now in our country. And it was the election. And we had a young man that actually forwarded an email at Texas that was a joke, and it wasn't an appropriate joke. And it was forwarded after President Obama was elected. And the young man ended up leaving school, and he finally graduated years later. But I felt responsible that we didn't talk to the guys about be careful with your emotions right after an election. You got half the country that's going to vote one way, and another half's going to vote another way, and you can have your vote, and if you don't vote, then you don't have a right to speak. But if you vote, you can be for your candidate, but you really have to be careful with social media now right after something happens if you have a negative response to it because your candidate doesn't win, and then it gets you in trouble with the NFL draft, it gets you in trouble with the future of getting a job. So we have talked at length, Jared, with these young people about if you need to talk about the election and the pressure that you feel, come and talk to us. Come and talk to us individually. If you need to talk to a mental health counselor about this or any other thing, let's talk about it. So we're trying really, really hard to make sure that our guys all vote or have the opportunity to vote. And the Stone Center is a place to vote tomorrow. So it's very close to them, and then you've got the worry of COVID. So you have to wear your mask and social distance if you haven't voted yet, and go vote. But we won't see them tomorrow because that's a day off. And we can't meet with them on a day off. So that's bothersome to us that they've got to come to us if they feel anger or before they get themselves in trouble like the young man did at Texas.
Thank you, Mack.
Thank you, Jared.
All right, let's go to Ross Martin.
Hey, Mack, I have Taylor's question here. He texted it to me. So when it comes to expectations, it's easy to forget that this is just year 2 of the offense. Of the team. The offense is 5th in the NCAA in yards per game, 15th in points per game. What's it like as a head coach to have your offense and defense on different timelines when the offense is ready to compete at a national level? I guess the defense is kind of holding the program back a little bit right now.
Okay. Should we be critical of Taylor and be asking him questions because he's got an inadequate advice to work with us?
He said he's driving through the mountains, so I don't know. Maybe
so there are excuses. I mean, I know.
Right.
No excuses, no regrets, right? That's what we get. It's a good question, even though he couldn't give it to us. I think the thing that we're looking at, Taylor and Ross, is how do you win a game, period. And it's offense is in a difficult spot right now. They're more experienced. They're scoring a lot of points. They're doing it quickly. Should we slow them down? It helps us when we can run the ball better because it keeps our defense off the field. We don't have as much depth on defense, and therefore they get tired more easily. So we're looking at all those things, but you can't slow them down to a point that they can't win. If you beat Virginia Tech 56-37, it's a win. I think that if we were struggling on both sides, we'd be in trouble. But the fact that our offense has been so good, and at times our defense has played really well. They played so well against NC State. They played well against Boston College. So they played great against Syracuse. Now Syracuse is struggling some. But I think what you do is you keep encouraging the offense and you try to pick your defense up and figure out how you can get those better fits and better gap control and play with lower pads and get your confidence back and understand that everybody we play is going to try to line up and run the ball. And until we stop the run, that's all we're going to get.
And my follow-up to some stuff you said already in this press conference and some stuff you just said is the experience of the defense and trying to work in younger players. I asked Jay about it today too. I mean, where are y'all with just trying to get some of these more linebackers and defensive linemen more reps? I know you really want to, but you're also trying to win the game. So how are you balancing out right now about halfway through the season where you would think you're trying to play some more of those younger guys a little more because they should have more?
Ross, it's one of the toughest things we're dealing with right now. In an NC State game, you got to play them a lot. So they got 25 plays, and that really helped us and kept us fresh. The other night, you're down by 21 in the third quarter, and you're struggling, and every play matters to get back because your back's against the clock. So it's harder, and then you guys get more tired in that fourth quarter. But that's why I was so proud of the defense at the end, because they really stepped up a couple of times there, and we have the two penalties, but we actually overcame those and still gave us a chance to win. So, yes, every day we try to force ourselves to put young guys in the game. We put them in some the other night. We didn't put them in as much as we wanted them to. So we've got to look at that again this weekend.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Coach, we've used up all of our allotted time today. We appreciate your time.
Thank you. When we don't have anything else, we don't do Wednesday. Or